Welcome back, everybody. We are going to continue with our next candidate, which is Mr. Garry Frog Talbert. Good evening, sir. And we're, as with the first time, we're going to give you a few minutes to go ahead and introduce yourself, and then we'll get into the questions.
Hello, my name's Garry Talbert. My nickname's Frog. I am currently the councilman representing the 2nd District, District 2 on Livingston Parish Council, which is the Watson area. I'm also serve on the Livingston Parish Republican Executive Committee representing District 2, and I serve on the State Central Committee representing Senate District 13B. I have resided in Greenville Springs, Pride, or Watson, Denham Springs for the last 40 years. I am uniquely qualified to serve District 64. I have had children and or grandchildren attend and graduate Bellingrath Elementary, Tanglewood Elementary, Central Intermediate, Central Middle School, Northeast Elementary, Central High School, Northeast High School, Live Oak Elementary, North Live Oak, Live Oak Junior High, and Live Oak High School. The only thing we hadn't attended is South Live Oak, and that's ironic because that's the district I live in now. But anyway, you know, I chose to run. I chose to run for state representative in District 64 because our state is in a unique position. There is a Southern Renaissance going on since COVID, and we're not participating. We're losing jobs. We're used to, the joke was, well, at least we're ahead of Mississippi. Mississippi has had 3 consecutive Republican governors, and guess what? They are ahead of us now. We have a tax structure that's not business friendly. I sit on the council, and we have people come to us and bring us ITEPs. It's a tax credit that the state gives to entice businesses to invest in your community. Why do you have to bribe somebody to come to your community if your tax structure was good? I mean, we've got great resources. We have people, we have a great place to live, we have great food, we have great natural resources that exist, yet we can't get people to come without giving them tax breaks. That's because our tax structure is not friendly to business, and it's not friendly to individuals either. I own a gas company. I own a truck stop. I own a fuel company. I've got 5 gas trucks that run the road every day. It costs me right at $200,000 a year before the first gas truck leaves the parking lot because of the situation with insurance and the need for tort reform in our state. I just recently, me and my business partner just recently sold a house that we've owned for like 20 years in Miramar Beach. And ironically, we were, 2 blocks off the beach? We were 2 blocks off the beach, and there wasn't a lot of difference between my homeowner's insurance on the Gulf Coast and my homeowner's insurance in Watson. And the reason for that is because insurance was structured differently. You had homeowners insurance, you had wind insurance or hurricane insurance, and you had flood insurance. And you were able to choose what you wanted. In Louisiana, if you have homeowners insurance, it includes quote unquote hurricane insurance. And those are one of the things that we need to look at in insurance reform, just from a homeowner's point of view. Oh goodness, I didn't mean to hit that. Is this okay? I'm back where sorry for that bump. I talk with my hands a lot, and I hit the thing. And that's something that we need to address. We also need to address, attorneys and their ability to advertise. I mean, trust me, I ride down the road and I see a billboard with a guy standing on top of an 18-wheeler. I own 18-wheelers. It scares me to death that they are saying, if an 18-wheeler bumps you, call me. And so, we have the ability, if I need to sue somebody, there are people out there that will actually fund this litigation for a piece of the action. We need to outlaw some of that stuff in our state. And in talking about tax reform and talking about insurance reform and talking about tort reform, a constitutional convention is something we've got to do. Miss Alford talked about our Constitution being amended 200 times. The reason it's been amended so much is because it is a conglomeration of laws that was put forth in 1973. I'm going to tell you how ridiculous it is. Y'all remember when we had payphones? You know, we all used to wear a beeper, had quarters in our car. Actually, they had nickels at one point in time, but that was way before I even knew what a beeper was. And we needed AT&T or Bell South or somebody wanted, I'm sorry, somebody wanted to raise a payphone to a quarter. We had to amend the state constitution. That's ridiculous. The Constitution should be structured more like the U.S. Constitution. It should be a Bill of Rights with a structure of government. And all these statutory laws that exist need to be, and constitutional expenditures need to be put aside. And the legislature needs to be able to address every one of them individually to solve the problems that exist within our state. What was a great mandate in 1973 isn't necessarily a great mandate in the year 2023. And those are the things that need to be addressed. A little about me. My wife, Tracy, and I have been married 27 years. Like I said, we've had 3 children graduate from Live Oak High School. I have a grandson, Riot, by my daughter, Lauren, who is, tomorrow's the 3rd. He'll be 20 months old tomorrow. He and I spent the day together. We went, he needed an LSU shirt for tomorrow. So we went out to LSU and to the stadium out there and got him he now has a 2T football jersey. I was married once before. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 grandkids from my previous marriage and 1 great grandson who is 17 months old yesterday. So, that's why I'm serving. My dad, I was raised a preacher's kid. My dad was a minister, and every 2 or 3 years he'd preach a moving sermon and we'd move to a new community. But, that was a joke. I don't know if any of y'all caught that or not, but, he was a minister in the Church of Christ, and, he had an avocation. I mean, that's what he wanted to do. And, I have that servant attitude. I don't have the same avocation, but I do have a desire to serve and make my community better. So that's the reason that I'm here running for District 64. You didn't have time cards. I hope I didn't go over too bad.
But of course you did. So we're going to now get into the more specific questions, parts of this. You've already brought it up, but want a little more detail from you. As you've discussed, you are a business owner, you own a gas company and a truck stop. You talked about your tax burden and labor issues and that kind of thing. Go into a little more depth of, okay, there's a tax problem. How would you fix it?
I mean, everything needs to be on the table. Every tax that exists in our state needs to be on the table. Everything needs to be evaluated. There should be nothing that is sacred. The Freedom Caucus wanted you to commit to some things. One of the things the Freedom Caucus wanted you to commit to was the elimination of personal income tax. Well, something, that's a great thing to have happen. However, it needs to fit within the tax reform situation that exists in the state. So, I'm not naive enough to say I will guarantee that I vote for the abolishment of a personal income tax. I would hope that we do that. There are states that are implementing it now, and it's taking years to phase that out. And I don't have an issue with that, but there is nothing on the table that is sacred. Everything needs to be evaluated. But it all needs to be simplified. I mean, we just had a vote, was it last year? And one of the constitutional amendments addressed, single source sales tax remittance, centralized sales tax remittance. It didn't pass. But if, Mr. Cavalier might be able to attest to this. If he mails a book to somebody and they're in Beauregard Parish, he's got to collect sales tax for Beauregard Parish and file a specific sales tax return for Beauregard Parish. If he had customers in 64 different parishes that he mailed books to every month when he filed his state sales tax and his local sales tax on the 20th, he would be responsible for filing up to 64 different sales tax returns. Thank God I have a fixed base business that's, and all I've got to do is file a Livingston Parish sales tax return and a state sales tax return. However, if we had centralized sales tax collection, I could file one return. You know, and my trucking business sells fuel that has excise taxes collected entirely different ways, so I don't have sales tax on it. But anyway, I'm just telling you, there are things that you can do in a business point of view with tax reform that will not only make it more convenient, make it better for business, but everything should be on the table for evaluation.
So some of these funding mechanisms, as Ms. Alford discussed earlier, if you want to have more somewhere, you have to take from another. That conversation led to a constitutional convention. You referred to it in your introduction. When you're considering something like that, would you be for or against it? And what do you see as, how would it have to be set up?
I don't see tax reform as a way to be addressed without a constitutional convention, because the way everything is structured right now, there are really basically two places that are not protected in the Constitution with expected expenditures. And that is higher ed and healthcare. So if you want to cut, that's where you cut. And those are not areas that need to be cut. There's a lot of pork out there that we bring to people, and there's a lot of businesses that get rebates that probably deserve to have their taxes or their, I don't know, what do you want to call it? Their incentives eliminated from the Constitution or eliminated from the budget before, we cut higher ed and healthcare. So, I mean, did that address that part of the question?
Yeah, but I mean,
go back over it because I got sidetracked.
So, do you believe there should be a constitutional?
Oh yeah, we're talking
yes
about constitutional
convention. And how do you believe it should be set?
Yes, we need to. Look, we're getting ready to have elect a Republican governor, a conservative Republican governor. We're getting ready to have a supermajority in the House, and we're going to have a supermajority in the Senate. And there have been people that have talked about having another election. Why would we want to have another election? We're getting to have a state election, and we're getting ready to end up with a supermajority of Republicans in the House and Senate. Why would we create an atmosphere that allowed George Soros or the cat with Facebook, I can't ever remember his name, Mark Zuckerberg, come in and invest millions of dollars in our election to control because look, if we have a constitutional convention, everything's on the table. Everything's on the table. Why would we chance allowing leftists from other states come to us, liberals, and try to buy an election that would then amend our Constitution? The legislature needs to sit as a constitutional convention, in my opinion.
Talking about that, and you discussed, as you go into a constitutional convention, there has to be specific, I guess you can say, participation. As we discussed with Ms. Alford, you're looking at, and you already brought up, there's going to be a new governor. There's going to be a new person in every Senate and House seat in this parish. What do you know about the other races, the people in those races, and how would you work with them going forward?
I have met every candidate in every race that's going to sit, within Livingston Parish. I have actually worked with some of them on the council. I have worked with them as the council, and they've sponsored legislation. We've asked the legislature to sponsor legislation for us. Matter of fact, both candidates that are in the Senate 13 race have handled legislation that I put forth at the council and passed and asked them to handle for us. So look, it's just a matter of all of us need to understand that we represent Livingston Parish, and we need to work together. Look, do we all agree ideologically? No. Look, I gave a speech 3 years ago about Republicans eating their own. There is one end of the Republican party and another. And so they all have different ideological intricacies within the party, but we're all Republicans. We all basically feel that we need to be fiscally conservative. We need to be socially conservative. We need to protect our children. We need to protect our Constitution. There might, one person might disagree with another person on school choice. That's an issue that can be debated. But for the parish as a whole, we need to work toward one common goal, and that will be my pledge to work with any of the people in the delegation, for the betterment of Livingston Parish.
So you just brought it up, and it's an important thing, and that is that you have been a member of the Livingston Parish Council. We have discussed your experience as a business owner and some of the things that you feel like that would carry forward into your tenure should you be elected. What has being a council member done for you, and how does it make you feel like you're qualified for this position?
The interesting thing about the council is that it is the legislative body of the parish. However, because and you say we're 28 years removed from a police jury, so to speak, but people don't really grasp that. I get more phone calls about needing my ditch cleaned out than you can imagine. I need a stop sign put up here. I need a speed limit sign missing. But look, there were 9 new councilmen elected. We all had to figure it out. We had to learn where our lane was. But we've all worked together. Look, we've had disagreements, but we've passed some pretty significant legislation in the last 8 years. We have streamlined the sewer system in Livingston Parish. There were 2 things when I came in I wanted to do. One was to modify the sewer district, which we did, and now we are so far ahead of some of our surrounding parishes with respect to, being able to keep sewer out of their ditches. It's amazing. The second thing I wanted to do was to do the same thing with gravity drainage, and I was shot down real early on that deal, and then I learned that even the people that had it didn't want to unify it because they were going to take their dollars from their area and take them somewhere else. So, I told somebody, I don't know, probably my second year in, they asked about gravity drainage, and I said, look, I've got a gravity drainage district in Watson, and it's working, and we have a plan to get the water through Watson just as fast as we can to Denham and let y'all figure out what to do with it. And they looked at me like I was crazy, and I said, well, here's the deal. If we're not working together, then that's the plan. But if we had a unified district and we were evaluating water throughout the whole parish and the movement of it, it would be a different plan. But, sometimes you just can't change everything. And so, that was some of the hard lessons that you had to learn initially, that there are some things that can be done. There's some things that are so ingrained they can't be done. But look, as you notice, I'm not always the most popular person on the council because I don't learn that lesson very well. I continue to beat my head against the wall, trying to change the things that need to be changed. When we were elected, if you built a subdivision in Livingston Parish, you could increase the outflow of water off that subdivision on a 10-year storm by 10%. Now the subdivision regulations require that when you build a subdivision, you retain water and release it at a 20% reduction for a 10, 25, and 100-year storm event. We've had one development that's been built under those new rules. If you go up beside the ballpark in Watson, there's a storage place up there that stores RVs. Go look at the size of the pond. Go look at what it cost that guy to meet those new guidelines. Go look at how big a pond you have to be to hold that kind of water to increase the holding capacity and decrease outflow of water. I know I sound like I'm getting in the weeds on some of this stuff, but ultimately those things, we improve roads. We build a subdivision. We'll improve, the sewer system. We'll improve, infrastructure with respect to electricity and some of those other things. We've never had to look at improving drainage. We now make a developer improve the drainage in the area. with the outfall of water off his property, which is unprecedented. I'm telling you, there probably isn't but one or two parishes in the whole state that have a stricter guidelines with respect to the outflow of water off a development.
So we've got about 8 minutes left, and I want to give you time for closing remarks. So we're going to have two more questions.
Okay.
First question is, you discussed just now sort of your experience as a councilman. We're going to tie that into a question we asked Ms. Alford earlier. What are some of the processes and protocols at the state level that you believe need to change, and maybe some of them are a little ingrained, as you like to say?
Okay, so let's talk about what happens. Let's say I'm elected state rep from District 64. You realize that if it appears that Landry is going to be elected our governor, first thing he says he's going to do is going to call a special session. So if you're the newly elected representative of District 64, be prepared to go to special session to address crime and what's going on in our state and keeping prisoners in prison. And I'll be prepared to support that. You know, we talked about there was talk about roads. You know, the ways and means and how money's allocated needs to be completely revamped. I don't know if you understand, but the way government is structured, it'll be addressed in a constitutional convention. But right now, you and I as citizens pay taxes to the state. The governor then creates a budget, and he bribes senators and representatives with pork to get his budget passed. And then those senators and representatives come to those of us who paid the taxes and said, look what I got done. Look what I accomplished for you. I got a turn lane put here. I got a walking path put over there. You know, I got this done over here. That's your money that you paid in. They didn't do anything for you. I mean, though, you know, the state needs to, you know, we need to quit getting rewarded for the taxes that we pay and think somebody did something for us. As a businessman, I have a complete different outlook on how government should operate. I mean, you know, there'll be people that get a walking path at a ballpark with state revenue. Guess what? That's a local issue that local taxes need to pay for. And that's just the way it needs to be addressed. You know, we talk about DOT and the Department of Health and Hospitals need to be completely revamped. I mean, they're monstrosities that tons of dollars flow into, and we don't get the return out of either one of those departments. I mean, you know, they can cut $100 million out of the Department of Hospitals, and nobody knows what programs are going to be affected. Oh, there's just so much money in there. Who knows? You know, so consequently, I think that, I don't know if that answered the question that you started off with, but there are plenty waste in state, and there's tons of things that need to be done, but we just need to be prepared to move in and address all those issues that exist.
Okay. And yes, you did. There are actually two questions left that I want to ask.
Okay.
You've got 6 minutes left, and you want your closing remarks.
Good. I don't need a lot of closing remarks, so let's just go ahead. Let's get the question.
All right. First question is this. We discussed it with Ms. Alford earlier. You're talking about school system. You've talked about having kids in both the Central and Live Oak school system. What would you do at a state level to try to work with and enhance the school system, both of which are major economic engines for their local areas, of course, Central being its own district?
Right. So you know, if you think about it, District 64 encompasses School District 22, which is the Live Oak School District. It also encompasses not very much of the Central School District. It encompasses a ton of the EBR School District, which is Northeast Elementary and Northeast High School. So you have the haves on one side of the river and the have-nots on the other side of the river with respect to District 64 and the school systems that you represent. So, you know, there are a few things that need to happen. First thing from a state point of view is that vocational training needs to be offered in every high school, because not everybody's college material. And if we want to, I can tell you right now, the workforce is amazing. If people can sign their name and I can read it, I'm pretty much going to hire them at my truck stop, because that's what we're down to nowadays. If you can legibly read what they write, you better put them to work if they want to go to work. And then we need to mandate that if you can't read leaving the third grade, you don't leave the third grade. Look, I solely believe that a kid should not suffer because of the zip code that he resides in. And that's something that's going to have to be addressed at the state level. I think there needs to be a more, how do I want to say this? There needs to be a fairer way of how the minimum foundation funds are allocated. And look, there needs to be more control at the local level. And you say that with mixed emotions, because you look at some of these school districts that can't function with state control, and you wonder how giving them more control at the local level will benefit. Yet you look at, the Livingston Parish School District or the Central School District or the Zachary School District, and you realize that there are school districts out there that blossom. So it's a struggle, but those are the things that we need to address. And look, all you got to do is understand, support children's education and look out for their best interest and not some special interest, and you're not going to make a bad decision.
So 2 minutes left. Want you to discuss, same question we asked Ms. Alford. You've got one bill and one set of funding appropriations to go after. What's the bill, and what are you going after money for?
I think the most important thing right now, if I'm looking at my state rep district, I want to address the funds that the Watershed Initiative got and how they're being allocated. There was a project that was put forth in Watson that was a diversion, a Beaver Creek diversion. People don't understand what that means, but that would get water off of Beaver Creek, because if you have a heavy rainfall, there are areas north that drain to Beaver Creek that water from Beaver Creek flows back into their subdivision. And so consequently, that is a very important drainage issue for a number of homes in the Watson area north of South Live Oak Elementary and Live Oak Middle School that would be tremendously benefited. That diversion would happen from Beaver Creek along the High Line that runs beside the Walmart and on out to the Amite River. And that would be one specific thing I would look at. Look, DOT knows about the problem in front of Live Oak High School. The problem is it's not the number one traffic issue in the Watson area. The number one issue that DOT has out of Hammond is 1019 from Old 16 toward 449. That is the problem. It is tremendously traveled. It's heavily traveled and is in very much disrepair. And the shame. Oh, I'm out of time. But those are the issues. Look, all I want you to support. All I want to do is listen to what I have to say. And if you have questions, call me. I don't know all the answers, but I think that I have, with my experience, can help this state in the next 4 years. I told a friend of mine, if elected and I don't move the needle in the right direction in 4 years, I'm going to be 66. I'll ride off into the sunset. I don't have an issue with that, but I think it's important what's going to happen within the state in the next 4 years. That's why I'm asking for your support. Thank you.
One last thing. Tell them how they can get in touch with you.
My cell number is 225-933-6456. My council email address is on the council website, but it's gtalbert@lpcgov.com. And my personal email address is gtalbert2@cox.net. And that's because I used to have G Talbert, but I lost the password, and so I've been G Talbert 2 for like 20 something years. So back then emails wasn't that important. You know what I'm talking about? And so anyway, but that's how you get in touch with me. And look, I spend a lot of time responding to emails. So if you send me a question or need a contact, we're going to come talk to you and visit with you and listen to what your concerns are.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. And John, if you want to get up there and make any closing remarks.
Awesome. Thank you guys again. Thanks for coming out tonight. Thanks for the candidates. Thanks to the Livingston Parish News. We're looking forward to our next event next Wednesday, where we'll be hosting parish president candidates and House District 71. And hopefully we'll have all the kinks worked out. Anything else to add, McHugh?
No, just y'all can't see me. I'm the disembodied voice. And for those of you on the live, probably the same. But appreciate you inviting us to host or co-host this with you, and we're going to work through all this. But thank you for those of you who watched. Thank you for those of you who came out. And this video will be on our Facebook page, and we're going to put it on our website and YouTube as well.
Thanks so much.